Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all honor, glory, and praise facing east to Yahweh, Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem, Ba'Kadash. Double honors and respect to the elders and to the apostle, the great millstone. Peace and blessing to all Akim that are preaching and teaching this word with 100% truth and sincerity. And unto the men, women, and children that are listening and learning, and unto the Bayat, the Davidah, the elect house of David that is scattered abroad, I give you my utmost and sincere salutations. Alright, so we're going to get into the vowels of the modern day language, the vowels which is A, O, E, U, and I. And what we're going to go into is more specifically is as we keep telling people, there's no E's, O's, U's, J's, or V's. V as in vampire. There's no E's, O's, U's, J's, or V's in the Paleo-Hebrew. And we're going to get into the origin of these vowels and these letters here. Okay, so we're going to go into the article of the letter E. And it goes back to, is the fifth letter or the second vowel letter of the Latin alphabet used in the modern English alphabet. The alphabets of other Western European languages and other worldwide, its name in English is E pronounced, now it is the most commonly used letter in many languages, including Czech, Danish, Dutch, English, French, German, Hungarian, Latin, Latvian, Norwegian, Spanish, and Swedish. Okay? So you can see which European countries have the letter E in their alphabet in their language. Just going a little bit of the more of the history. Okay, so over here is the time period and of the letter E and the symbols. Okay, and the article contains phonetic transcription in the International Phonetic Alphabet. Okay, and then you have the Egyptian hieroglyph, the Proto-Sinaitic, the Proto-Canaanite Hillel, and then you have the Phoenician, which looks like let me get quick here. Excuse me on that. It looks like, as you can see, when you go into the Paleo-Hebrew, it looks like the fifth symbol in the Hebrew alphabet, which is pronounced Ha, but they pronounce it as He right here, or Hey, or however they pronounce it right here. And this is the Western Greek Epsilon, Etruscan E, which looks like this, and then the Latin. So the Latin letter E differs little from its source, which is the Greek letter Epsilon. This in turn comes from the Semitic letter, say Hey or He, or however you pronounce it, but as I said before, there's no E's in the Paleo-Hebrew, and it's not Semitic, it's Shemitic. So this is more of the devil's way of trying to twist things around. Okay? Alright, and let's see. In the Shemitic, the letter H and E in foreign words in Greek, He or Hey, or I don't know, became this letter Epsilon. It's used to represent E, the various forms of the old Italic script, and the Latin alphabet used in this followed this usage. Okay. So as you can see, other languages with the letter E in here. It says all the Middle English spelling used E to represent long and short. The great vowel shift change long E as in me or B to looks like an I, while short E as in eh as in met or bed remain a mid vowel. In unstressed syllables, this letter is usually pronounced either as A, in other cases the letter is silent, generally at the end of the words like Q. So, I'm not going to go into too much detail or too deep into it. You can look it up for yourself. Just go over some basic stuff about the letter E. So it originates from the Greek, but it can go back as far as the Egyptians, but there was one hierarchy of symbols, and this is what it looked like back then. All the way up until Phoenician, and the Greek epsilon, Etruscan, and the Latin. Okay? Now we're going to go to the letter O. And there's no O's in the Paleo-Hebrew either. Okay, so it's the 15th letter in the fourth vowel letter in the Latin alphabet. Used in modern English alphabet, the alphabets of the other Western European languages, and other worldwide, its name in English is O, pronounced O or O, whatever. So this is, so these are the countries that have, the European countries that have the letter O in their language and alphabet. And here's the history of the symbols. Looks like an I. Zoom in. So looks like an I. So I'm guessing that must be the Egyptian one. But we'll see. Okay, so Egyptian was the I. Phoenician, Ayin, but it's really Ayan. I. And this is the Western Greek Omicron. Etruscan, the Latin. Now it says this graphic form has remained fairly constant from Phoenician times until today. The name of the Phoenician letter was Ayin, meaning I. And in our Paleo-Hebrew, the letter or symbol I is, let's see, is the 16th. The letter I is the 16th letter in the Paleo-Hebrew, but its symbol is an O. Okay? And its shape originates simply as a drawing of a human eye, possibly inspired by the corresponding Egyptian hieroglyph. Pro-Sinaitic script. Its original sound value was that of a consonant. Probably the sound represented by the cognate Arabic letter. Okay, so the use of this Phoenician letter for a vowel sound is due to the early Greek alphabets, which adopted the letter Omicron to represent the vowel O. The letter was adopted with the value in the old italic alphabets, including early Latin alphabet. In Greek, a variation of the form letter came to differentiate this long sound omega, meaning large O, from the short O, omicron, meaning small O. Okay, so the Greek omicron gave rise to the corresponding Cyrillic letter O. And this is how the pronunciation of O by language, starting with Chinese, English, French, German, Italian, Malagasy, Occitan, Portuguese, Spanish, and Turkish. Okay. So it says right here, the letter O is the fourth most common letter in the English alphabet. Like other English vowels, letters, this is associated with long and short pronunciation. The long O, as in boat, is actually most often a diphthong, realized dialectically anywhere from O to E. In English, there is Also a short O, as in fox, which sounds slightly different in different dialects. In most dialects of British English, it is either an open mid-back rounded vowel, or which looks like this, or an open back rounded vowel. In American English, it is most commonly an unrounded back O to a central vowel. Okay. Okay, now just went over a little bit about the letter O. So now we're going to get the letter U. Okay, the letter U, the 21st letter in the 5th vowel letter of the Latin alphabet, used in modern English alphabet and the alphabets of other Western European languages and others worldwide. Okay. This is Pro-Sinaitic Phoenician, and that looks like the symbol Y, which goes to Wa, which is the 6th letter in symbol. 6th letter in symbol in the Paleo-Hebrew. Okay, and then of course Western Greek calls it upsilon. Latin is for V, because in certain language the V and the U are interchangeable. And U derives from the Shemitic Wa. It's Shemitic, not Semitic. As does F, and later I forgot about the letter F, because that's not in the Paleo-Hebrew language at all either. And the letter Y, W, and V. Its oldest ancestor goes back to Egyptian hieroglyphs and is probably from a hieroglyph of a mace or a fowl, representing the sound V or the sound W. This was borrowed to Phoenician, where it represented the sound W and seldom the vowel U. In Greek, 2 letters were adapted from the Phoenician Wa. The letter was adapted, but split in 2 with digamma or wall being adapted to represent the W, and the second one being upsilon, which is it's like a Y, but it goes to a U, which is what's originally adapted to represent U, later fronted becoming the Y. In Latin, a stemless variant of the upsilon was borrowed in early times as U, taking the form of the modern day V, either directly from the Western Greek alphabet or from the Etruscan alphabet. Okay? And the Etruscans was an ancient civilization in central and northern Italy to write their language from 700 BC to sometime around 100 AD. As an intermediary to represent the same U sound as well as the consonant W. Num, originally spelled N-B-U-M, was pronounced num, and via was pronounced via. From the 1st century AD on, depending on vulgar Latin dialect, consonantal W developed into this right here, kept in Spanish, and then later to V. During the Middle Ages, the 2 minuscule forms developed, which were both used for the vowel, used for V or for the vowel U. The pointed form was written in the beginning of a word, while a rounded form was used in the middle or end, regardless of sound. So whereas valor or excuse appeared as in modern printing, have and upon were printed have. See how have, the V here, and then there's a U right here. And upon Upon usually have a U, but has a V, respectively. The first recorded use of the U and V as distinct letters as in Gothic alphabet in 1386, where V preceded U, printers eschewed capital U in favor of V in the 17th century, and the distinction between the two letters was not fully accepted by the French Academy until 1762. The rounded variant became the modern-day version of U, and its former pointed form became V. So these are the languages that use U in their system: the Afrikaans, the Standard Chinese, Danish, Dutch, English, Esperanto, the Faroese, French, German, Icelandic, Indonesian, Italian, Japanese Hepburn, which was, the Hepburn is the main system of romanization for the Japanese language. Okay. So the system was originally published in 1867 by American Christian missionary and physician James Curtis Hepburn as the standard in the first edition of the Japanese English Dictionary. Okay. Lithuanian, Low German, Malay, Norwegian, Portuguese, Spanish, Swedish, Turkish, and Welsh. In English, the letter U has four main pronunciations. There are long, short pronunciations. Short U, found originally in closed syllables, most commonly represented as like this, as in duck, though it retains its old pronunciation after labial consonants in some words as put, and occasionally elsewhere in sugar, with the long U found originally in words of French origin. Okay? In the sense of Old English, long U was respelled as the O and a U. Most commonly represents Ju or mule, reducing to U. Okay? Or as in June. Okay? Last time I'm just going over some detail about each letter, about these letters. So we just went over E, O, and U. Okay, now we're gonna get the letter. So now we know that V is interchangeable with U. Now we're gonna go to J. And we all know that J was, the letter J was created in 1524 and later introduced into the English language at 1634. And I think it was Greek philosopher and writer Giorgio Trissimo. I believe that's what his name was. There it is, right here. Gian Giorgio Trissino, also called Giovan Giorgio Trissino, and self-styled as Giovan, I don't know how to pronounce that, was a Venetian Renaissance humanist, poet, dramatist, diplomat, grammarian, linguist, and philosopher. Okay? And it says here, from 1478 to 1550 was the first to explicitly distinguish I and J as representing separate sounds in his Pistola del Trissino delle Lettere, Nuovamente aggiunte nella lingua italiana, which is Trissino's epistle about the letters recently added in the Italian language in 1524. Originally, I and J were different shapes for the same letter, both equally representing what you see right here. However, Romance languages developed new sounds from former J and G that came to be represented as like this I and this J right here. Therefore, English J acquired from the French J has a sound value quite different from this J right here, which represents the initial sound of the English language, like the word yet. So J and Y can sometimes sound the same. So These right here are the languages that use the letter J. All right. So we already know where the letter J comes from. Here from the Italian Renaissance philosopher Gian Giorgio Trissino. So, it says right here. I'm going to read right here. It says the first English language books to make a clear distinction in writing between and were the King James Bible, the first revision Cambridge in 1629, and an English grammar book published in 1633. So, and if you got the King James Bible right here, the 1611 version, and excuse me, didn't mean to hit that. Not mean to do that, Slovakia. So if you have this, and if you read some of the scriptures in here, you'll see that some words where a V should be, it'll be replaced with a U, and you see, like I said. This was written, in the original Hebrew, none of these letters exist. There's only 22 letters in the Paleo-Hebrew. Okay, and hold on, let me get the symbol here. So, the Egyptian hieroglyph, the Phoenician, the Greek, the Etruscan, the Latin. It's like I said right here, sometimes the I and the J are interchangeable, except that right here, the J just has that little hook here, that little curve there at the bottom. Alright. Okay, and there are no F's either in the Paleo-Hebrew either. Have for F. So this is the Pro-Sinaitic, the Phoenician, Western Greek, the Etruscan, and the Latin. And the origin of F is the Shemitic letter for wa, or wa. The symbol, yeah, but not the letter itself. Graphically originally probably depicted either a hook or a club. It may have been based on a comparable English hieroglyph, such as that which represented the word mace. So, the Phoenician form of this letter was adopted in the Greek as a vowel upsilon, which represented its descendant, the Y, but was also the ancestor of the Roman letters U and V and W, and with another form as a consonant, the gamma. You see, the gamma or ba is an archaic letter of the Greek alphabet and originally stood for the sound, but it has remained in use principally as a Greek number for 6. So, which indicated the pronunciation W as in Phoenician Latin F, despite being pronounced differently, is ultimately descended from the gamma and closely resembles it in form. Alright. These are the languages that use it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take a look here. Excuse me. I know I've written this in my notes, but this right here at the top, right here on this side here, is the Paleo-Hebrew, and down here, these ones, this is the Aramaic Hebrew. This is the Aramaic. This is not the original Hebrew. This up here is. And as you can see, Abagada Hawa, Zaka'a, Tayaka, La ma nasa I pa taza kwa ra shata. Okay? So we have 22 letters in the Paleo-Hebrew. And just to look again, as you can see the symbols, I know they're kind of horribly displayed out. Okay, that's just my handwriting. I apologize. Now, let's get into the scriptures. Okay, this is going to be, excuse me. This is the book of Proverbs 30 and 4. Who hath ascended up into heaven, or descended? Who hath gathered the wind in his fist? Who hath bound the waters in a garment? Who hath established the ends of all the earth? What is his name, and what is his son's name, if thou canst tell? Okay? So, we all know, and we've talked about how the Old Testament was written in the Hebrew. Okay? His name, like I said in the King James Bible, it'll say I am. Now transfer the words I am to the Hebrew and put it in third person. He is. That'll be Yahweh. Now, this is going to be Zephaniah 3 and 9. For then I will turn to the people a pure language, that they may call upon the name of the Lord, Yahweh, to serve him with no consent. Okay? So he's going to turn back to his people a pure language. Okay? In fact, and not only that, but all these other languages, they are all derived from the Hebrew. I'll turn this off real quick. So all these other languages are derived from the Hebrew, and we're going to go ahead and go to Google here, try and find the Paleo-Hebrew alphabet chart. Let me try something. Ancient Hebrew alphabet. Let's see if I can find any images. Hopefully I can find a good picture here. Let's see. Bear with me. Okay, give me a moment. Please don't tell me this thing is freezing up on me again. Trying to find a decent chart here so you guys can see for yourself. And also up here, this is that Yiddish crap. It's to pronounce it properly, it's the Lashawan Kadash, which means the holy tongue. And the holy tongue, the holy language, is the Hebrew. Oh man. If I could just find the like I said, just ignore it because it's, so like, yeah, my internet be bugging at times, and it gets real annoying, especially in the heat. That's when my internet starts acting up the most. But, this Paleo-Hebrew, that's the language of our ancestors. Okay. I wish I had the perfect Paleo-Hebrew alphabet chart, and it had how do you pronounce the letters, and they also gave you what do the symbols mean. Oh man. Let me see if I can find it here. I could find it again. But it's just not. That's Esau Edom. Every time we get closer to finding out the truth, he has to find some way to block it. And also here, so here the Talmud. The Talmud is that book that those small hats. This is what they base their principles upon, as it says, refers to Jewish scholars of the period from about 200 to 500 CE, which is Common Era, who said or told over the teachings of the oral Torah. They were primarily located in Babylonia, in the land of Israel. Their legal discussions and debates were eventually codified in the Gemara. So the Talmud sages did not share a uniform stance on the subject of the Paleo-Hebrew. Some say that the Paleo-Hebrew was the original script. It is the original script, used by the Israelites at the time of the Exodus, whereas the Aramaic script was brought from the Assyrian. Okay? So, like I said, you read more about all this, but so this is what these Jewish, this is what they follow, the Talmud. Okay? We don't follow that. Okay? Let's see. I'm going to read Zephaniah 3 and 9 again. It says, "For then will I turn to the people of pure language, that they may call upon the name of the Lord Yahweh, to serve him with one consent." And that's talking about the Israelites. Okay? All this different languages that we speak now, whether it be Spanish, Portuguese, or the African language, which is Swahili, or these made up language from the Caribbean islands like Jamaican language, or any different dialect from any other languages. Those languages are no longer going to be. Alright, okay. So let me get Zechariah 14 and 9. "And the Lord shall be king over all the earth. In that day shall there be one Lord, Yahweh, and his name one." There is only one name that can save you, and that is Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. Acts 4 and 12. "Neither is there salvation in any other, for there is none other name under heaven which given among men whereby we must be saved." Okay? That is Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. And Exodus 6 and 3. "And I appeared unto Abraham, unto Isaac, and unto Jacob by the name of God Almighty," which means Allah Shadia, which also goes into demon-like power, because Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai is a power to be feared. "But by my name Yahweh," or only translated as Jehovah, which we just went over the letters, the J, E, and the O and the V do not exist in the Paleo-Hebrew. "Was I not known to them?" Okay? And the name Yahweh Shai, Yahweh Shai, meaning he will deliver, or he is the Savior. Okay? Yah is the prefix meaning he. Okay? Hawa meaning be, exist, or am, or is. So Yahweh, he is, he exists, or he to be. Yahweh Shai, he is the Savior. But Hashem just means in the name. In fact, let me get that scripture. Exodus 23 and 20. Oh, it's not the one. So like it's Exodus 20 and 23. No. I know it's in one of these scriptures. Bear with me. Up, Exodus 23 and 21. It says, beware of him, and obey his voice, provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. This is Yahweh speaking about his son, Yahweh Shai. For his name is in Yahweh Shai. Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Yahweh in the name Yahweh Shai. Okay? So, like I said, I'll go back to Zephaniah 3 and 9. For then will I turn to the people a pure language. So, when the time comes, not just, of course, Israel, first and foremost, is going to come back to their true heritage, their culture, and their language. But guess what? All these other heathens, they're gonna be forced to learn the law, statutes, and commandments when we're back in power, and they're gonna learn the language. Okay, there's not gonna be no more Babal, which is Hebrew for Babel, which means confusion, which means that everybody's gonna be able to understand one another because we're all gonna speak that same language. Okay, so let's see. Alright, Exodus 3 and 14, and the Most High said unto Moses, I am that I am. So transfer I am from English to the Hebrew, and put it in third person. He is Yahweh. And he said, thou shalt say unto the children of Israel, Yahweh hath sent me unto you. So for Exodus 3 and 15, and the God said moreover to Moses, thou shalt say unto the children of Israel, the Lord Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushua of your fathers, the power of Abraham, the power of Isaac, and the power of Jacob, hath sent me unto you. This is my name forever, and this is my memorial unto all generations. Okay, so, I'm not skilled in the Hebrew. I only know just a little bit. But, I got my notes here, and I'm going to go over it so that way I can become a bit more, in tune with it, so that way, I can speak it a bit better. But just for edification, when the time comes when the law, statutes, and commandments are written in our inward parts, we're going to know our language, we're going to know everything all over again, as we should. Everything. So, I wasn't planning on this lesson being too long, but the last letter was the letter V. Like I said, it's interchangeable with U as well as W. And it says here, the Japanese V is called a variety of names originating in English most commonly. B or bui, but less nativized variant violating to an extent in phonotactics, okay, of Japanese. And our B, we or B is also used. The phenome or the phoneme in Japanese is used properly only in loan words where the preference for either B or B depends on many factors. In general, words that are perceived to be in common use tend toward B. So this is what the B, from Pro-Sinaitic to Phoenician to Upsilon in Latin. So it says right here in Spanish, it's recommended by Bay or Bay. There's tradition. So He Karte Bebahabe. So all these letters that I'm reading about originate from the Greek, but they have symbols that go back to the ancient Egypt hieroglyphics. Okay? And these, you have the languages here that use the letter B. Alright? So I hope that this was an edifying lesson. So if someone comes up to you and asks how you know that there are no E's, O's, U's, V's, J's, and F's in the Paleo-Hebrew, well, this lesson should settle that. Okay? Sure, they had their symbols in ancient hieroglyphs, but they didn't become letters until the time of the Greeks, following into the Romans, into the modern day. So I hope that this was an edifying lesson unto the body, and to those that are new coming in, listening and learning with all sincerity. I'd like to give all honor, glory, and praise facing the east to Yahweh, Hashem, Rabashai, Hashem, Rakhat, Radash. Double honors and respect to the elders and to the apostles of Great Millstone. Peace and blessing to all Akim that are preaching and teaching His word with 100% truth and sincerity. And unto the men, women, and fusion that are listening and learning. And unto the Bayat of Devadah, the elect house of David that is scattered abroad. I give you my utmost and sincere citations. Okay? Salakia. Another thing too is that the scriptures also speak that we are not to add or take away from this book, right? Because if we do so, the curses will be added unto us. Okay? So, even though things have been lost in translation, but that's where, 2 Timothy 2:15, study to show thyself approved unto the power, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. Okay? So with that, Shalom, Barakatam.